Welcome everybody along. It's time for the Grand Effect podcast, covering everything GRL. Of course, we're going to recount the Spanish Grand Prix. I don't know what I said recover for. We're going to recount the Spanish Grand Prix and all of the races that happened over this last week. It was quite an exciting week, of course, the last week before Christmas. And as always, I'm joined alongside me this week by the wonderful Atom, who's recovered from his deathly illness. How are you, Atom?
I'm good, thank you. And as I said, very interested on having an overall look again on who finished off the year the best, and we'll hope to continue the form into 2023.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, quickly to mention, start off before we get into the meaty greaty Div 1 to 7. Quick words on the mixed division tier, of course, because a lot of people like to jump in there. We've had so many people racing there so far this season, but at Spain, it was myself that won that race. Me and Minico had a good battle. It was in full wet conditions for the entire race. It wasn't particularly pleasant, but it was quite exciting at the end, and me and Minico battled it out on the last couple of laps for the win. But that meant I extended the championship lead to, I don't know how much it is now, but it's quite a lot. You weren't there, were you, Atom, that week?
I wasn't there. No, I saw Andrew was leading at some stage, as you said, Minico. And you're now in the lead by over 50 points, just about. I think it's 54. But the midfield is close with Blade, Minico, and myself there. So we'll see how it'll changes in the Austrian mountains. But for now, your lead is definitely quite big, and they'll try to keep it like that, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, and I'll try my best, but I can't make any guarantees. But I mean, we're about to go into the F1, but there was a lot that went on, and we've got a special guest for our Division 1 coverage, and let's get straight into it. So, on to Division 1 then, and we have got a very special guest with us this week, and of course, it's Ninja. Hello, Ninja, how are you?
I'm good, hello.
Very good. Of course, we've only just started talking to each other, so I don't know how your day's going, so how is it going?
Yeah, you clearly have no idea.
No, not a clue.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, I mean, of course, the reason we've got you here is because you've won the final race of the season. That feels a bit fitting. You were here from the start. You've won the final race of 2022. How was the race itself? First off, I know you had to fight for it a bit, but you got there in the end.
Yeah, it was good. I was slightly terrified because I just didn't think I belonged at the front. But yeah, kind of just all worked out quite well.
I mean, because you missed the first couple of races, and I know you said to Asad, didn't you, beforehand, that you were considering retiring, and then you come and win the race. So hopefully that's not going to happen anymore. I don't think I'd forgive you if you left, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, are you still? I mean, it's a very long season. There's still 15 rounds to go. Have you still got aspirations for the title?
I don't know, because my qualifying is shocking, so I kind of have to make my way through at the start of a race.
But that is what Atom did last season.
Yeah, but I don't have host OP starts.
That's
so
true.
That doesn't help. But
You make a very good
I
point.
might be able to. There's quite a few good tracks for me, like lining up, and there are a few horrible ones, but I don't know. There's a chance still.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you've got to say your main rival, if you were going to go for it, would be Sora. I mean, let's have a look at this quickly at the standings. There we go. Sora leads by a good 28 points now. There you are in P5. I mean, you found your way up there. If you're not doing that badly, you're only 36 points off. And after missing a couple of races, that's not that bad either. But I mean, so with Alfa Romeo, you're third in the constructors with Gary. I mean, you've got to be pushing for that as well, surely.
Yes, because I'm definitely not one scoring all the points. Gary's had some horrendous luck at the moment.
Yeah, he's not been kind to him, I don't think, recently. But
No,
then
it hasn't.
I'll
Not
quickly
quite yet, but
I'll quickly come to Atom, because Atom, this was of course your final race in Division 1, and of course, you were the Season 1 champion. You were the Season 2 runner-up, and but it's not gone your way. But I mean, P7 on your farewell, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, was
Beat
definitely
Ray.
my final Division 1 race for 2022. I'll try to get back on that 20 car grid for the upcoming seasons. But yeah, overall was well. Could have been a bit better because I had to avoid God of Gaming, who was spinning all over the place, which lost me the DRS in the huge 10-car DRS train or so. So that didn't help. And then the safety cars helped a bit, where I sadly ended Gary's race kind of because I got on some curb and then Radius and Gary behind me just got caught off by that. So I still got a point at least. Yeah, scored some solid points, but just especially the quali pace is lacking too much. So we'll try to work on that in Division 2. Hopefully help my teammate out there because he's got the main priority, of course. And I think with me getting replaced by Josh Gill in the Alpine, I think Rain got another good driver to cope with for the constructors as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you could try and push, or Alpine could try and push from 4th. But I mean, yeah, I mean, over the course of that race, I mean, there were lots of ups and downs. Really, you didn't really know which way it was going to go. We had a safety car nearish to the end, didn't we? Or am I thinking? Sorry.
2 safety cars.
That's
even.
right. Yeah, 2 safety cars, and it helped out. It originally helped out those hard runners, those medium runners off the line. I think because they were able to go onto that hard a lot earlier when the hard runners couldn't have gone from there. So that helped you out quite a lot, and that kind of pushed those hard runners up the field. But yeah, Mark on his return came in P3, Pyro P4, B4 P5, Gibson P6 on the two Alpines, Ratum Ray 7th and 8th, Blade Knight and Gary 10th. But I mean, looking into the new year, we've got Austria coming up straight after Christmas, and Ninja, are you excited for that? Are you a fan of Austria?
I'm not quite sure. I wasn't very confident going into Spain, but we've seemed to have known how that's gone, so we go in with 0 expectations, then we can't be disappointed.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I mean, Austria's one of those tracks where it just depends, really. I mean, the DRS train is so powerful. It's really difficult to try and get out of that train, especially in a grid like this where everyone's so close. You feel like that train could be long, and it could last quite a while.
Qualifying will be interesting for sure.
Oh, 100%, because with the lap being realistically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 corners, that's not a lot of time for people to find a diff between each other. So I do expect there'll be a few people within a 10th of pole. Well, I hope so anyway.
Singapore and Spa were one of the longest circuits, or the longest circuits, and the field was split by 7, 8 tenths there.
Oh, exactly.
So if you consider that Austria is pretty much half the distance of a lap, we should anticipate everyone being within 4 tenths of each other.
That'd be great.
At least I hope so. But yeah.
I think the field's going to be longer at Austria than it was at Singapore and Spa. I think it's the opposite. Because the corners are faster, so there's more chance that you can mess it up. There is one line through that middle sector, and if you're not on the perfect line, because you can guarantee whoever's on pole will be on that perfect line.
Yeah, but this is Div 1.
And whoever's not will be 16th.
Let us dream.
You'd expect all of those guys to find the perfect line.
You would expect that. You would expect that of Div 1.
I'm going to come, look, right, after that race, I'm going to come back to you, and either you're going to laugh at me or I'll laugh at you. Let's put it that way.
I presume it'll be the latter.
I hope so. But yeah, I mean, looking at the constructors again, you've got to feel bad for Haas, only on 2 points.
It's quite sad, really.
But again, B Ford, I forgot to mention this again, B Ford managed to keep up his run of finishing the top 6 of every race. He's not finished on the podium, he's 2nd in the championship. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy how consistent he's been. And really, I wish him all the best, really. He's doing a blinder of a job up there. So that's going to be... He's always one to look out for, because you always feel like he'll be up there, because I think he got spun around with like 4 laps to go from this race, and then somehow managed to find his way back to P6. So good on him.
Yeah. If I look at it right now, I think it's quite hard. Also, a question for you two, because who do you think is going to be like the one who looks best outperform right now for the upcoming races? Because my first tip was Blade at the start of the season. That didn't go too well in the first 2 races. With Ninja now being on form again, it's very interesting. But I think B4 is definitely one to watch out for the championship still, despite being that far
Yeah,
behind.
especially if he
Sora.
can pick up a few podiums as well.
Yeah.
But then you can't count out Rain, you can't really count out Drazzy because he's had a couple of bad races in a row. Of course, Ninja's there. Michael somehow, God knows how, but he's up into P6. I don't know where he's come from.
I never seem to know where Michael is in the race, and then he just appears on the podium. And I don't quite understand how he does it. But he just appears with like 2 laps left. I'll see him just appear into third on the relative. And I never understand it.
It's bizarre, but I mean, he's doing a blinding job, to be fair, up in P6 already.
And Pyro's far down, but I think if he turns up consistently...
Yeah, as long as he's awake for the races, I think he'll be able to put them together.
Pyro's coming.
Yeah,
Pyro's going to be a dark horse in this championship.
The quality of Div 1 is because you can't pick someone yet at all. But yeah.
FRA not in the top 10.
Well, yeah, there we go. Well, FRA don't exist anymore, do they? So
yeah,
technically.
I mean, we all know it's GRL Pyro now, so...
Yeah, but anyway...
It could have been such a... Top 3 could have been nuts right now, as well. Because obviously there's that gap between Sora and B Ford of, what, 28 points. I think Sky Spider and Rage both would be sat in that gap right now if they were both able to continue to turn up. They would both be sat in that gap. I think Sora would be 4 points ahead of Sky Spider, with Rage 2 points behind them.
It's really specific.
I mean, Rage will continue the season at least. So
Rage will continue when he gets his Xbox back.
Yeah.
He's got his Xbox.
I think he has got it back. Which is good news.
Yes, just got it back. So now
Okay.
he needs to find some speed again.
He does. I hope he will. And I hope Sky Spider returns because I miss him. But yeah, thanks Ninja for coming on for the podcast, and good luck for the season ahead.
Thank you very much. And I will hopefully chat to you on the podium next race.
Yeah, exactly. On to Division 2 then, and it was a great result for Slapbus, who ended up winning in Spain. Of course, you can see Carlos Sainz there. I mean, one of the Ferrari's drivers in real life's home Grand Prix. Of course, it's not Slapbus's, to my knowledge. I don't believe he's Spanish. But he won't be too displeased with that. I know that AMS Lloyd, who finished in second, was catching him. The tyres were dying on Slapbus right at the end. And Lloyd, I think one more lap, he said on his screen, and he would have got him. So close for Lloyd, but again, a good result for him. Distant Bard in third, points for Alpine. But Otto, Solar, Ghosts, and Panosh make it so that there are 7 different teams in the top 7. Delta makes it 2 Aston Martins in the top 8. Clever, the only Haas in the top 10 in 9th, and Josh Gilly in what will be his final race before he gets promoted to Division 1. Finishes in P10. But I mean, looking at what that does to the standings, it slaps us onto the century mark, 100 points. Distant Bard 69, Otto 57, and Lloyd on 52, moving ahead of Josh Gilly, who I said will be getting promoted. So, I mean, Division 2 this season, I think Slapbus is starting to pull a lead. But as well with the Ferrari and Alpine battle in the Constructors, it's not really decided yet, is it?
No, definitely not. I mean, Slapbus now really possibly seems to get winning and get race wins, which definitely helps against Alpine, because I think they, as a team, probably got a bit of a stronger lineup with Distant Bard and Jackster, because I think it's just more possible for a bro like Jackster to win a race than Scary Spunk. But yeah, Slapbus is definitely doing well for Ferrari. They still lead the way by a couple of points from Alpine. But in the drivers, he's sadly running away slightly in the last 2 rounds. So I guess we have to hope that the drivers of Distant Bard and Amos Lloyd will catch up a little bit, same as Otto. That he has a few bad rounds. But for now, it's looking really good and set for Slapbus. and in the midfield it's very close. Also on the race in Spain, I mean, I watched it back as well. I mean, Josh Gilly and Coded Ghosts were really pushing at the first stint, but then they crashed off a very aggressive move from Josh into turn 4, I think that was. So definitely not the end to his Division 2 campaign. He needed, but I guess he'll have a fresh start in Division 1 and can't wait to see what he will be doing there in the next round in Austria.
Yeah, and Austria is a weird one. You never really know what's going to happen, and funny enough, I mean, you'll be in Division 2 for Austria, won't you? So
Yeah.
I mean, trains form in Austria, and they can last long unless. I mean, you've got to rely on mistakes really to make moves in Austria, where people lose the DRS or they just have a moment like at turn 3, for example. But yeah, I think Div 2 Austria is going to be a particularly interesting race, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Austria is always a bit of a difficult race for racing leagues, but it's never boring. So I guess something will be happening, and we'll see who comes out on top in the end, and possibly change the championship with round 7.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's definitely one to look for come the new year. We'll move on to Division 3 then, and in the end, in Spain, it was XRP who won here for the Alpha Tauri team. You can see the Blues winning out here. No McLarens, no Alfa Romeos, no Ferraris in the top 10. Some Pikachu coming home a strong 2nd place. Luca, 3rd as well. Trappy in 4th. 5th and 6th for Mercedes, strong showing, getting 18 points on the board, so good for them. And AJ Nolan in 7th, Efranazo, Michelle, and Wieldy Mag are rounding out your top 10. But yeah, double points there for Aston Martin, double points for Mercedes, double points for Williams. And in the championship, I mean, it does promote them all up, but Williams, it really helps Williams here because, of course, they are only on 48 points. But yeah, Aston Martin and Mercedes, they're both being ahead of McLaren now. They can try and push towards Haas and AlphaTauri, who are clear at the top. Trappy with a big lead. Luca in 2nd, and he moves ahead of Jobbo, who didn't have a great race. But I think that's a battle to look out for. XRP as well moving up. But Smoke and Cheese and Ghosts... Credit Ghosts move up to Div 2. Forget that. Yoki and Thomas... the 2 Mercedes drivers, that you can look out for them trying to move up the field a bit, as they are quite close together with the drivers. But yeah, I mean, Div 3 is an interesting one because we've got a very tight constructors battle and kind of the midfield of the drivers, but it's more stringed out in the drivers, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 2 drivers got promoted after this race, which are obviously Trappy, who really had a quite dominant season so far, and XRP, who now won the race. So he did the complete opposite to Josh Gilly and won the race, his final race in this division. But yeah, now we've got a bit of a different championship fight because everything and everyone focused on Trappy so far, and now it's pretty much Luca against Jobbo. So I think that's a quite interesting championship battle because I'm not sure if anyone recently was in a championship fight, and they have got quite a big gap to the next driver behind, which is AJ Nolan. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And also in the constructors, Haas will probably now lack a bit of pace in the next 2 races because they lost the main man. They got 130 points, and Trappy scored 114 of them. So they did really rely on him. And then it's all very close in the midfield there. So I think there can be, with a win or 2 for certain teams, definitely there can be some changes. And I'm interested who will take over as Trappy goes up to Division 2.
Yeah, I couldn't actually remember if Trappy was going up to Division 2. I didn't want to mention it. I was going to let you do that, and thanks for doing that, because I completely forgot. I thought he had, but yeah, he has. So yeah, as you said, Luca and Jobbo, I think, are going to be an interesting battle. Of course, AJ Nolan not far off. XRP with the win puts himself up into that conversation. Alpha Heat not far behind either. So yeah, an exciting 2023 in prospect for Div 3, I think. But that being said, we'll have a look at Division 4 now. And Andrew took home the win in Division 4. It, harks back to Season 2, Andrew winning in Div 4. But he has got, I believe that's his first win of the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's his first win.
Yeah, and leading home at double points for the Aston Martin team. Williams were the only other team to get double points. A good points haul for Aston Martin, and with 31 in fact in the bid to try and haul themselves further up the order. But yeah, Volvnix and Lewis both on the podium. Hops and Latino in 4th and 5th, picking up the double-digit points with Mahatma, Raven West, as I said, in the Aston Martin. PD, Exotic, and Jacob Brown rounding out that top 10. And with the championship there, you can see, does promote Aston Martin. But the thing to note here is look at how close it is in the constructors. 67, 66, 66, 63, 62. And it's so close. I mean, that win for Andrew shoots him up the order and inside the top 10. He was previously just outside of it. But SLR, Ham and Jam, who have been promoted to Div 3, I know that one for a fact. They're still in 2nd and 3rd tied on points, but there's points to be gained on them there. But yeah, Andrew and Dobie very close together. They're just behind Rex. But yeah, that constructors battle is what you've got to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazingly tight. As we also said, I think it was Division 5 last week, where we said it's amazingly close. If you go up by one position in the race, it could mean a lot in the championship for now. And it's the same here in the team standings. And I think it also was Andrew's first podium of the season, so he definitely did well. But what you got to bear in mind is he actually didn't finish the race in P1, because it was Mahatma who actually won the race, but he had to reset to track in, I think, his second stint, which obviously cost him 20 seconds in the end, because he received the post-race penalty, which dropped him even out of the podium places. And so luckily for all our ears, we couldn't hear Andrew scream around on his stream. So we're still all quite on form and alive, so that's good for everyone. Also, Wolfnix and Lewis grab another podium, or the first podium as well, so I think it's a pretty fresh GRL podium. And the two SLR guys of Jam and Ham got promoted to Division 3. So I'm interested what they can do in Austria. And now it's once again Ferrari versus Ferrari in the drivers with Hops and Rex. And once again, we don't know really how this will all pan out, because at the beginning of the season we said, we recognize some names, but with no clue who's going to be fast here, or have we ranked them correctly. So currently it's Hops with a 20-point lead, but I guess that can swing, especially at Austria, where crazy things usually happen, and they will happen, especially in Division 4, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely, and I do think it'll be very interesting indeed to see. Yeah, I've just mentioned it, but Austria trains. You've got to make mistakes. Division 4, the lower you go down, the more likely it's going to happen. But yeah, it's something to look out for in the new year. And let's move on to Division 5. Then, if I can find the right one, there we go. So it was Jakob who won in Division 5 for the Spanish Grand Prix, Heike in P2, Asthma Frog P3, Maka P4, Mashallah P5 and Boosted P6. Again, you can see with J Street P7 and Deathlink P8, 8 different teams, I should say, in the top 8. So no one really gaining a big advantage, apart from Alpine, who are gaining, the odd 7 on Aston Martin there. I mean, the double points finishes for Williams and Alfa Romeo are really insignificant if you think about it. I mean, Alfa Romeo get 11 and it's 10 for Williams, so it's really not that big of a difference for either of them. But good result for Jakob as well, is when you look at the standings, I apologise, they are the standings. I forgot to hide them. Yeah, they are the standings. Jakob, you can see though there, he moves right up to P2 in the championship behind Ronnie. J Street and Maka now tied, with Aspen Frog and Batsy now tied. Lemon and Heike just behind them as well. But yeah, with those extra points, Alpine were able to move ahead of Alfa Romeo, Ferrari just ahead of Red Bull, and Aston Martin as well up there. Excuse me, because Mercedes now right at the back on their own. And that's quite a lonely P10. They're 15 points behind with only 26 on the board.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, Jakob drove a decent race. I had a look on the Division 5 stream from Bray, and definitely deserved the win there. AK also a podium for him after a few scruffy races, and Asthma Frog, I think with his first podium since Singapore. That was a while ago, round 2 that was. Yeah, Alfa Romeo and Williams double points. So Williams seemed to have a solid week at Spain. J Street in P7 as well. He lost a few points to the other guys. And yeah, so Jakob is now technically a championship leader because Ronnie made the move up to Division 4 after absolutely dominating the season so far. So that's a bit unlucky for his championship charge, but I think he was just untouchable so far. And as you said, in the team standings, it's close in the midfield. Also, kind of interesting on the top, especially between Alpine and Alfa Romeo in second and third, but Mercedes are really not on pace so far this season, and they need to change that very, very quickly because the overall constructors know it all, and it's all very tight there. And if you don't perform in all the divisions with at least a couple of points, this will affect your chances, and you'll pay the price in the end.
Well, exactly, and yeah, you always run that risk, don't you? But yeah, that's Div 5. Make sure you look out for that one in the new year. Div 6, though, had Echo winning the race. Ali came in second with Azrael third, 10th Cannon fourth, and V-Attack fifth. Good result for Alfa Romeo in both drivers in the top 5. Callum Ludlow P6, Luzco 7th, Daniel Gamer 8th, Matt Tanner 9th, and Tran in 10th. But again, good result for Echo, who moves himself further and closer to Azrael at the top of the championship. Those two are runaways at the moment, but Ali moved up to P3 ahead of Tran, and again Haas closing in on that Mercedes. It does feel like this is very much a Mercedes-Haas battle in Div 6, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you look at the drivers, I mean, you can say what you want. We had a very close championship after like 3 races, but now it's quite clear here. It's Azrael versus Echo, it's Mercedes versus Haas. So I think we're gonna watch that battle all the way through the season because we now finished around a quarter of the season, I think, with 6 races out of 21, and they cleared the rest, but they're still quite close to each other. While Azrael seemed to be more like the guy who wins the races, but then also has a bad result in Echo, I think, got now 3 podiums in a row. Even called himself a P2 merchant of Division 6, and now finally won at Spain, which definitely is good for him and the Haas team as well, because they were like Alfa Romeo, a bit in that pack in the overall constructors, where you can see all the teams up there very close, but you just lack that a few 50 points or so you need to gain, and it's always difficult over 7 divisions to really have a standout week to gain these couple of points. But considering this division, yeah, I mean, on top, Mercedes and Haas. In the midfield, again, it's quite close in the team standings, but also in the driver standings. I mean, Ali is only like 20 to 30 points ahead of the rest, even down to IFI Ed. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting for the next couple of rounds, but I think the main talking point definitely is the championship battle between Azrael and Echo.
Yeah, definitely, and it's close up there. And that's a nice little battle for the championship further down the divisions. But yes, that is what it looks like in Div 6. But in Div 7, Jack JT won again in his Aston Martin. I need to say Alfa Romeo there. But again, good result from McLaren. Kieran and Chicken Rosary, 2nd and 5th. Same as the Alfa Romeo result in Div 6. Browns the Bunts in P3, Clipscam P4. Lally and Rangers, Wargasm, Killerman and Zedman round out the top 10 at Spain. I mean, Div 7's always a bit of a firecracker, but with the win, Jack JT now leads by a distance. His points alone, though, can't help Aston Martin be ahead of McLaren, though. They're still 10 points behind. But yeah, I think in Div 7, the battle's really in constructors, not the drivers, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, once again, he was too fast for his own good. Jack JT, because he also got promoted to Division 6, and I think he didn't even get a single pole position. So I guess the man has some great race pace under him. And yeah, it's now pretty much Kieran versus Clipscam, because Kel also goes up to Division 6. Same with Exility, the TDE driver. So yeah, it's pretty much a fight between the McLaren and the Red Bull driver, with others lurking behind for sure. But I mean, what can you say about Jack? I mean, he dominated the season so far. I think nobody got anywhere close to those 127.5 points he got. So I think that's the biggest amount of points any driver has so far in his F1 division. And yeah, but he's the only one who helped Aston Martin so far in this championship, because, as you said, McLaren seem to have the better lineup so far and lead the constructors' battle. And it's only top four really here. I mean, there are 30 points between Red Bull and Mercedes, P4, P5, and then it's very close to the top. It's only a couple of points there. So yeah, that's going to be interesting for the rest of the season. And who comes out here, because Division 7 is a bit of a surprise package every time.
Exactly, and yeah, I agree totally with what you just said. But yeah, I mean that brings us to the end of the F1 divisions. There, I found the words, dearie me. But in F2, it was a great great weekend, wasn't it? Because we had, and in the F2, I mean, we had a couple of great races, didn't we? In the F2, I mean, I can't even remember who won. I know I came together with Valkyrie a bit, but I think it was particularly good. It was a good weekend for all three of myself, yourself, and Gibson at the top, and I think we're all split now by 2 points going into the new year, if I'm not mistaken, which is ridiculously close. It's amazing to think, really, and. I'm really excited to see what the new year brings in Formula 2. But the races are always just chaos and a lot of fun. And it's always nice on a Wednesday night at the end of the F1 races just to have a nice, somewhat chill, but then again, now at this point, really competitive races in the Formula 2.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Gibson, yourself, and myself had a solid week. But once again, like in the last couple of races, we got good weekends, but Blade and Distant Bars, who are just a couple of points behind, had an even better weekend. So it's all getting closer together. If this goes on at some stage, 5 drivers are going to be within 3 points, because we always fight at the top. And yeah, Distant Bars especially, the good weekend. He got second in the sprint. I just about could keep him out of the DRS window, which helped in the end. Was also a virtuosi. Double podium, or as Sinity would say, a Vitusi double podium. Gibson also in 4th and played in 6th, with some other drivers in the midfield getting some solid points in the sprint. But then Distant Bar once again started on the softs in the feature, and got away with the strategy in the end, because us two had to battle with the Premier of Valkyrie for quite a bit, and Blade just picked up second, because he also went for the soft hard strategy, I believe. And yeah, Gibson in P6 once again, so it was the perfect weekend for him, but he's still quite clearly in the fight, especially as you didn't pick up a win in the feature, which would have been worst case scenario for him for sure. But yeah, next up is Austria, as said. And that's going to be very interesting, and is quite a bit different of a track compared to Spain.
Oh, yeah. Very different. I mean, you can overtake everywhere in Austria, and you can't really especially in an F2 car. And it's not always that easy in Spain, even in an F2 car. But that will be that. We thank you all very much for watching / listening to this GRL podcast. That's it for 2022. We'll see you in 2023, and yes, I can't wait for what's to come. But thank you all for watching, tuning in to the podcast. It means a lot that you guys who watch these enjoy them so much. And yes, we'll see you back in a few weeks' time for Austria and the brand new year of GRL.